All right, so for the final commentary, I should talk a little bit about the future of Phoenix Wright dubs, particularly from me. And so in that case, I'll start with talking about something that I distinctly didn't talk about on the other parts of the commentary, just because answering this question kind of keys into the future of the dubs, which is why I chose Rise from the Ashes in the first place. Like I said, I've played all the games. I've played all the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney games, including Apollo Justice and Ace of Fury Investigations with Miles Edgeworth. Played them all, loved them all. I chose Rise from the Ashes not necessarily because it was my favorite case. It's not my favorite case. But I chose Rise from the Ashes because it was the most workable to work with, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One was because of the age range of the characters, the general age range of the characters in Rise from the Ashes. Apart from two distinct exceptions, which is the judge, who of course I would have to deal with in almost any case, either the judge or the judge or Damon Gant, who, like I said in the Tin commentary, I kind of fudged the age on Gant a little bit because I could. Apart from that, everybody in the cast of characters of Rise from the Ashes ranges from either teens like Emma to late 20s mostly, and then somewhere in their 20s, and then Gumshoe kind of up in his 30s probably. So because of that, I always knew that I wanted to be pulling from Chapman theater grads, because I wanted to work with actors that I knew, actors that I could cast kind of in my head before I even had the chance to work with them. I didn't want to go through any audition processes or anything like that. There was no reason for me to do that when I knew all these actors. And so because of that, I was working with an acting pool where the general age range is very specific to mid to late 20s. Knowing that, I wanted a cast of characters where I wouldn't have to fudge the age nearly so much. And Rise from the Ashes, in that respect, was the easiest one to work with because it was only the judge and Damon Gant, and the rest were totally in the right age range. And so that was one thing I kept in mind, because if I went, for instance, if I went with the case right before with Manfred von Karma, I would have had to cast Manfred von Karma, which would be very difficult to do with the acting pool I was kind of pulling from. Or any of the cases with Wendy Oldbag, who's an old woman. She's got to sound like an old woman. It's a very specific sound you need for a character like Wendy Oldbag, and that would be very difficult to fudge from the female actresses that I know. I don't really know that many actresses who I think have that sound. I can't even think necessarily of any off the top of my head who I know personally who would be right for that role. So that's the kind of thing that I was keeping in mind. When I was thinking about cases to choose, I was like, you know what? There's a bunch of cases that it would be difficult for me to find somebody for these particular roles, but it's not nearly so difficult with this one. And then the other part of that, the other half of the reasoning, because not every role has an old person in it, or even a very young person like Pearl. Again, that would be another one where it would be very difficult to find an actor to just play Pearl because she's so little and so young. And I fudged it with Ariel Hartman playing the little girl in the gallery for this, but you really would need somebody who sounds right for Pearl Fay if I was doing anything with Pearl Fay. But then the other half of that is the fact that I needed a case that worked as a standalone story. I needed something because I was just doing one case. I mean, I couldn't possibly do any more than just one case. I mean, if I was doing, look how much work one case took. Just one case. If I did more than one case, I'd be here forever. I'd never finish it. There's no question about it. So it was necessary to do just one case, just one story, in and of itself. For the sake of a complete dramatic experience, not just for the audience, but also for the actors, the sense of having something that goes from start to finish, start to middle to end. And that was, again, Rise from the Ashes was easily the best choice for that. Because, like, for instance, people bring up bridge to the turnabout or bridge from the turnabout. I'm not sure which preposition that is. But that one, the last case of Trials and Tribulations, and I love Trials and Tribulations. Maybe my favorite game in the entire Phoenix Wright canon. It's I love I love the Dahlia character as a villain. I love Godot, and I love that case. The last one has got so much to it. But that said, I'm a fan of the games. I am as I am as capable as any other fanboy of Phoenix Wright of enjoying the continuity porn of that last case of Phoenix Wright, Trials and Tribulations. And I think what needs to be considered is that I am the only one who is involved with this with this dub project. Even Cooper, who's a big nerd, didn't particularly know Ace Attorney. I'm the only one who knew Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Everybody else, I had to explain every little scrap of context about, like, what is this world? Why do people act this way in court? Things like that. All of this, I had to give them every bit of that backstory, or whatever backstory was necessary, to make it work. And so that was just for Rise from the Ashes. Imagine if I was trying to do that with a story like Bridge to the Turnabout, where it's pure continuity porn. It's nothing but references, not just to the rest of Trials and Tribulations. And every single Ace Attorney game, let's be fair, every single Ace Attorney game really has a game-wide plot that goes through the various cases, and Trials and Tribulations in particular is very intensely heavy on that. With how I'd be doing, again, I'll use Bridge to the Turnabout as the perfect opposite example. That particular case is so chock full of context difference that, there would be no way for me to explain to a cast of actors what it is they're supposed to be referencing, what they're dealing with. Every single line reading would come with reams of backstory for me, the director, to them, the actor. Already difficult enough with Rise from the Ashes, 5,000 more times difficult with any other case, really. Rise from the Ashes is special in that case amongst all the Phoenix Wright cases, because it's one that that has, it really does stand alone. It has references, but not so many. It's not as dependent, because of course it was an extra case. It was added on when the first game was brought to the DS from the GBA, and so because of that, it does stand alone as a story. It has only minimal amounts of references, and it doesn't really need to be that intensely about the interconnectivity. It is a complete dramatic experience from beginning to middle to end, and that was effective. Not, even me as an audience member, even if I were just watching this, I would want a single dramatic experience. I wouldn't want something that was just piece of fan craft. You know what I mean? I want something that feels right from start to end. And so that was something that was necessary for me in terms of how I was approached doing this project. And the reason I go through all this is to say that's why I think it's very difficult for me to imagine right now doing any more dubs. I really can't imagine it, because I just used the best possible choice for a case to do right now, and that's Rise from the Ashes. There really isn't another case that's as good for that, unless I were to do an entire game, and God knows, I mean, again, look how much work this one case took. If I were to do an entire game, God, man, it'd take me for friggin' ever. Now, I will say that I am smart enough to know that I will never, ever say never. Never say never when it comes to what you're going to do or you're not going to do. Who knows? Maybe I'll do this again. Right now, on the horizon, there doesn't seem to be a way for me to be doing this. I have on the horizon right now, I'm redoing my demo one more time. I actually got some very nice advice from a very important person in the voiceover industry. I will not tell you who. Those who know who have been told by me personally who it is. But I got some very nice advice, and I'm going to have to redo my demo one more time to make it even better. So there's that. I also have other real-world things happening for me right now that are taking up a lot of my attention, so I certainly couldn't be devoting any kind of time to doing something like this again right now, at least. So that's that's the point, is that I have to be able to devote the time to another project like this. Again, I'll never say never, and again, and part of it is because it's a matter of just how I was doing it. Again, this was almost all me in terms of how I did it. The other actors just had a little bit of time commitment. Almost all rest of it, in terms of the actual work, was all me. In terms of I had to edit it together myself. I had to direct it, all this stuff. I mean, if there was a way for me to split it up, that might be helpful to some extent. I honestly don't know who would do that, and for that matter, to some degree, I don't even know if I would trust somebody else to do it right unless they could show me that they knew how to do it. And again, it's all it would all be just people doing it for free. So it's all very difficult to imagine that I would be doing any more Phoenix Wright dubs right now. But like I said, never say never. I love these characters. I love playing these characters. I would play these characters for anything, whether it was professionally, whether I was doing it for real, if I were actually doing the characters in a paid way, I would love to do that. Or if I were just doing it again just for fun, I would do that too. It's just a matter of if it works, if the time works, or if there was a way for me to split up responsibility, which at this time I don't imagine that there could possibly be a way for me to split up responsibility. So these are just things that I have in mind that are necessary. So we'll see. But as of right now, this is the first and the last of the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney dubs. We will see what happens in the future, but for now, enjoy. Thank you all so much. I've thanked the cast. I am now thanking the audience. Thank you all so much for enjoying and watching the Phoenix Wright Rise from the Ashes. I hope you enjoyed all of our performances. I hope you enjoyed these commentaries and their rambling qualities. And and who knows? Maybe we'll all do this again.